All right, and we are here on the debut episode of Gridiron District. This is that episode with a podcast that will be discussing the DC Defenders and the Washington Commanders. So this will be a season-long type of podcast. So episode 1 is here, and we're going to be talking about the DC Defenders as they embark on their 2025 season. We got our guy Brett. What's going on, Brett? How you doing?
Man, it's another day in paradise. It's been a rough day, but onward and upward. Right, less than a week till kickoff.
Yes, indeed, and always, and one of my go-to when it comes to XFL, UFL news. See, even 2 years in, I'm still get all mixed up. For my UFL stuff, definitely got to check out the bottom line. They do their thing. So, without further ado, we definitely got to talk about. And it was really funny because, obviously we know that there's, when there's coaching vacancies, what have everybody's linked to something. So the first inkling of the Reggie Barlow going to Tennessee State actually was from what you guys posted on social media, and it he posted on Friday that there was some sources, there was some inklings as Reggie Barlow was going to take the vacant Tennessee State job. That obviously the Eddie George ended up going to Bowling Green. So, and then obviously in less than 24 hours, it was announced that Reggie Barlow did step down pretty much a week prior to the start of the Defenders season. So, Brett, what was your thoughts? Just even when you announced that on Friday, and it actually happened on Saturday. So, what was your overall thoughts of Reggie Barlow stepping down from the Defenders?
Well, we had heard some rumblings and some rumors for about a week, and the more smoke, there's typically fire. So it definitely it caused obviously a lot of interesting comments and things on social media and the UFL community. I put out that, I had a feeling he was going to take the job, but I hoped that he was going to stay for the season. I said I haven't heard otherwise, but then in the back of my mind, I was kind of panicking with the transfer portal and the NIL now that he probably wasn't going to make it through the season. I hate it. I mean, it's a week before the season. He's been a coach there multiple years. I don't know of anyone that's got anything negative to say about Coach Barlow. All the fans, even from the opposing teams, liked him. I pull for the Birmingham Stallions, but I'm a league guy first. So I hated to see him go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Coach Barlow, I even, obviously he was in my backyard a few years ago with Virginia State. So, I was like, for him to take that opportunity in 2022 to be in the league, and then obviously covering some games last year for the Defenders. And it was just great talking with him. As far as even wins and losses, he was very great and gracious, even in defeat. Especially, I remember when they lost to Arlington in that season finale. He was really, gracious and, answered everyone's questions and was pretty much upbeat. Like you say, he was a great coach. And in Tennessee, they're going to get a great coach. And I feel I know those kids are going to be really lucky to have a guy like a Reggie Barlow, being their coach at Tennessee State. So yeah, it's definitely much luck to him at Tennessee State. So inserting Reggie Barlow is out. Now we have Shannon Harris, the former quarterbacks coach of the Defenders, now is in the interim role for the Defenders. What are your overall thoughts on Shannon Harris taking the job?
Well, I'm not too familiar with Shannon other than his, recent history with the UFL. I think I speak for most UFL fans, at least who I've talked to behind the scenes, that we were kind of surprised that Greg Williams wasn't named the head coach. But there again, he's got some negative history and baggage with him with, the Bounty Gate with Brett Favre and New Orleans Saints and all that. But when I heard that Barlow was stepping down before the season, I mean, every one of us privately said, well, I guess it'll be Greg Williams. And then Shannon Harris is announced. So we will see. I know that I don't know. It was just something about Barlow's presence on the sidelines that was very impressive. How he handled everything, how the players, responded to him. It's going to take me a little time to figure out where we're at with Shannon Harris, and again, their opening game Sunday is with the 3-time defending champion Birmingham Stallions. At the beer snake, so to speak.
Yeah, like you said, we'll learn a lot about him in these coming days. So yeah, and the same thing here. Where I thought too it was gonna be maybe Greg Williams, and then a part of me was thinking, well, it's Greg Williams was going to Tennessee. That's why first thing I thought initially, because I know a lot of people there was speculation who was going to be the interim, and then obviously with Shannon being named that as well. So yeah, that's going to be very like I said, interesting, and we'll definitely find out as the weeks, days and weeks progress. So I want to talk about you guys preseason power rankings. Obviously, you had Birmingham as number one, the 3-time defending champions going for their 4-peat in a sense. Then you got the Panthers, the Michigan Panthers at number 2, St. Louis Battlehawks at 3, Arlington at number 4, San Antonio at 5. Then we got the TC Defenders at 6. Then Memphis and that's it. And also too, Memphis Showboats obviously now another coaching step down, and Ken Whisenhunt as well. What was your thoughts about Ken Whisenhunt, his departure?
Man, it was part of my bad day today. I've got friends that run the yacht club, which is the big booster club in Memphis. Talking to them today, we try to help promote the whole entire league because we're really strong. We got strong emotions about spring football for so many reasons. If you haven't checked it out, just don't be closed minded. Give it a shot. It is fun as hell. Excuse my language, to be at a game. It's a different atmosphere than an NFL game. Or I live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, so I had season tickets for years and years and years to the University of Alabama. And with the kind of success we've had, man, it's just the spring football community is a tight knit, kind of differently wired community. Man, we kind of all embrace each other, no matter all of our differences and quirks and all that, and come together on the weekend, and we're all pulling for the same team. It's a real. I'm seeing more and more mainstream posts on, Bleacher Report, things of that nature, to where a lot more people are now more responsive to spring football in the UFL, just like on ESPN today. And it's nice to see, because that whole closed-minded concept with spring football, they're no good. Come on, man. There's some good players in this league, and there's some good football, and they're just trying to make it back to the league. They're just trying to make it to the league. Man, they're very responsive before the games, after the games, at all these events. They'll hang out with you. I mean, they'll drink a beer with you. These dudes are just happy that someone is putting their name out there and promoting them and what they're trying to do, which is get back to the NFL. It's something special about spring. Anyways, I know I got off on a tangent, but
it's all good.
That was a big loss for Memphis, and I know there's a lot of mumbles going on from Memphis today, from what I've heard on phone calls and text messages, and then on Facebook and X. They were all very excited about Whisenhunt. You know his past and history, what he's done with the NFL. He was a big name. And not only that, I think a lot of Memphis fans, when this all broke, or we heard it was going on, we were surprised that the DC Horton was not named the head coach. Which he was a DC with the Pittsburgh Maulers, and he was a big part of their year 2 that got them to the championship game in Canton, Ohio versus Birmingham. And Memphis's big weak point last season was their offensive line, and I know they've supposedly corrected that. They've got almost an entirely new roster. But then they named the offensive line coach as the head coach, interim head coach, in place of Whisenhunt. So that was also a surprise.
Yep. And then round out the power rankings, you had the Houston Roughnecks as well too. And it's funny that you brought up as far as like the differences in the league, and you had the top 6 reasons why to watch the UFL, and I agree with every single 6 of those. Where, like you said, it's more access as far as just from a fan perspective, affordable outing compared to our NFL counterparts, and no famous guys in this league that have a famous girlfriend that's just as famous as him or more famous than him. So so if you watch these broadcasts, they're not going to pan to his girlfriend like 15 times in a quarter.
And
So.
that was really me just throwing a little shade and having fun.
Okay.
But when I posted it in our group today on Facebook, the only responses I got was about Taylor Swift, and I'm like, come on, guys. I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings or us start going political. It's just a joke, but you know how folks are these days.
Oh yeah, but it was funny. It's funny yet true. And like you said, now and then, like the whole thing about the network coverage compared to the other one where, hey, you need to have an app for this, you need to have for that. So this case, yeah, you if you got basic cable, you can basic Fox, ESPN, ABC, you're good. So that's the thing about this league. So for sure.
And one thing that's so awesome about this league is they're so transparent on their replays. Like if you're in the stadium and there's a questionable call, a coach can challenge it, or the coach don't even have to challenge it. The booth reviews every play, and they will literally stop the game and they take you to the studio with one of the guys in LA, and you can sit there and watch and listen to everything he says during the replay on the Trinitron.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, it's so much. There's so many little neat things. I know a lot of NFL fans didn't respond well to the kickoff. I prefer the USFL kickoff over the XFL kickoff. I know now we're going back to the XFL kickoff with the UFL in season 2. But as long as we start getting returns again, I'm a big special teams guy. I grew up a Chicago Bears fan. I mean, Devin Hester, when he come out on the field for a punt return or kick return, and they would play that song before, and man, you get chills. And you see all the fans stand up, just go, well, Bears ain't done nothing all day. And you just knew he was fixing to pop one, And they really, the 2 Super Bowls ago, when all those kickoffs went in the end zone, is when the NFL started finally looking at an alternate kickoff. Something where you actually get some returns, but it's not as dangerous as, these guys are just so big and strong and fast now than what they were 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So I talk about a little DC defender. So what, from your perspective, what do you look at for the defenders as far as their strengths and weaknesses for this on this roster?
Where their real strengths were 2 years ago was their front, offensive line and defensive line, but they also lost a tight end and a couple wide receivers last season, that they didn't have from the season before. Then they lost their running back that was really, really doing something pretty special at the beginning of the season. But I know they lost Bruno and a couple other big guys from that offensive line. DC, when they made it to the XFL championship game against Arlington 2 years ago, had a real dominant offensive line, and that was just not the case last season. I debated so much on those preseason power rankings, especially in the XFL conference, because I feel like there's so much parity in that conference that it's really up for grabs, especially with Arlington having such a tough schedule and having an extra road game this season. Some people I saw put DC number 1. I debated on putting DC at number 2. I really think there's going to be a ton of parity in the league this year. So I don't know what's going to happen now with Barlow being out. I know the roster is what it is. They've got a real good home advantage at Audi Field. And definitely everyone show up, show out. That is supposedly a very, very fun environment, very fan friendly. family friendly in other sections other than the beer snake section. But I would love to be traveling to DC this weekend, honestly, to go to the game, but it's just not possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got Jordan Tiamu back. Their running back is 100% back healthy. Real curious. I know they signed a couple other weapons. They've got a special teams killer on that team. Real curious about the offensive line. That's where I want to. That's the key, I think, to this season for the defenders.
Absolutely. And I know you talked about Jordan as well, and also who are some other guys on this team for some defenders to watch as the season progresses.
Was it Bellamy again? Then the running back is it Abram Smith? Is that correct? It's been a long day.
Yeah, because he was out because he got hurt last season. Well, last season. Now he's back. Yeah, he's back. So yeah, he
could be a legitimate leading rusher in the league this year. He was having a heck of a season last year, and your season really fell kind of apart when he got injured. That the injury started piling up, but then some of the weak links on that offensive line, some of the new pieces, that replaced the season before, that was really your Achilles heel. Your guy that's back on special teams can break one at any point. The punt kick returner. Like I said, I'm very, very anxious for the upcoming season for DC. I mean, it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm so torn on DC out of all the all 8 teams in the league. I could have put DC at 8-2 as their ceiling, and I could have put them at 4-6 as their floor. That's a big spread, but they've got some key pieces in place. Like I said, I know Barlow didn't really do a lot of the play calling, but the players always seem to respond well to him, and I'm real anxious to see what we see Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. So, and we talk about Sunday afternoon. We got the 3-time defending champion Birmingham coming to town. Just what are your thoughts on this opening weekend matchup between the Defenders and the Stallions?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I was at the Birmingham DC game in Birmingham last season, and that was the Storm game where, we had over an hour delay and lightning everywhere and rain was going sideways. And that's when a lot of the fans in Birmingham start taking their shirts off, and now that's become a thing, in Birmingham at Protective Stadium. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. DC gave us every bit we wanted in that game last season. We pulled that out at the very end with a field goal, if I recall correctly, with a new kicker that it was his first week. He had done replaced another guy that had blew it, which is now, I think, on the Roughnecks. He pulled a muscle hamstring or something, and this guy came in and won the game for Birmingham. But again, if that's definitely one of the games last season that Birmingham, probably should have lost. So that's in the back of my head too. I know I've seen the point spread. I don't know if you've seen what's been posted, but that's going to be a tough game for Birmingham at Audi Field. So I would take the points. If I was a bet man, I would take the points in that one.
For sure, yeah. So definitely thank you for coming on, Brett, to talk some DC Defenders. Tell them where we can find you on social media and any upcoming projects, anything got going on.
Man, we're the Bottom Line Podcast. We're on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram. And then I also run the largest UFL football group on Facebook. We've got, I think, over 28,000 members, and it's UFL Fans is the name of that group.
Okay. Yeah, so this wraps up episode 1 of Gridiron District. Once again, Brett, appreciate you for coming on, and we're looking forward to Sunday's matchup against the Stallions. And we'll catch you guys on our next episode next week. And we're out.